and welcome back to part 2 of a final episode of Caribbean House Talk. Today we have our spicy dish section, which we always have. We also have our tricks and tips, and we also have our Dear Help team. And at the end of our segment, Chef CC is going to be feeding us with his jerk barbecue short ribs and sweet mashed potato or mashed sweet potatoes with asparagus. Ooh, I can't wait. So, and then we have some tricks and tips for you. So we're going to really be having a very enjoyable, and then we're going to give our take on what our brand, our Caribbean House Talk brand has meant to us, what the season was like, how we accomplished what we meant to accomplish in terms of the type of topics that we brought, etc. So we're going to talk about that. All right. So we always, as usual, start with our spicy dish topics and aim to bring you the issues from funny to curious and even tearfully serious. All right, so on today's part 2 of today's Caribbean House Talk, I'm going to have Malfi pick out our spicy dish, our most spicy dish topic.
Let's see. Thank you, Caroline. Let's see what we have here.
So what is the item you picked out?
This is the item. Will you allow anyone to take your love making?
Honey, maybe I'm just too old. Do you want me to take this?
Me too.
Okay, maybe I'm just too old, but there's no way. Even in my young days, I would let someone take that, because I would always want to know what is it that you are planning to do with that when I decide to break up with you, or if I decide to break up with you. And not even in a marriage would I do. Like, what is the point? You got the live woman here. Why the hell would you need to be taping what we're doing so you could go blackmail me with it? So you women out there young girls who are out there letting boyfriends do that, that's really crazy. Have a brain in your head, and you have one, so use it. I'm not letting anybody do that.
It comes back to haunt you.
It comes back to haunt you. Nobody who's trying to tape you could have any good intent. You have something like that lying around.
What? I guess you have to ask, like, why?
So we are outside, not far from Kennedy Airport. That's the traffic you're hearing from Kennedy Airport, planes going into Kennedy, so every now and then. So you were saying before.
So I was trying to figure out what is it that people get out of it when they tape themselves. Do they go back and then watch these tapes? Or you just, I can't believe you just sit it somewhere. There must be some reason for it.
Blackmail?
No.
Well,
No, we know that's an end result if they break up. But I'm saying,
Maybe it's the beginning result, because most of the time when people do it, it's the men that are doing it. And they know that that's the one thing you could go humiliate a woman, because she breaks up with you and now she's got another man or another whatever, you could bring her whole wall down and humiliate her. Yes, revenge, exactly. So why would you let someone tape? Don't be stupid. Don't be foolish.
I will probably not allow the men to take me because of, I respect my body. But if he was, let's say, and if he does it, and then, to me, that's not a blackmail, because people already know that we have a relationship.
Yeah, but would you want something on the internet where your son could see? That's what you have to think about. Because when these guys get nasty, listen to me. When they get nasty, they're going to make sure they humiliate you in the worst way. And you can't just think of yourself. You have a son. So do you want, all of a sudden, you're looking there and your son is like, oh, they said this dirty picture of my mommy on the internet. Something that was meant to be private.
But Trish, I don't think. I think you're going to the end if there's a break. Yeah. That's not what she's saying. What she's saying, just as I was saying, when people do these things and agree to it, they must go back and play it. I don't think they do it with the intention of I'm going to blackmail this person.
I don't think that's
they
the
must.
intention.
I don't know if it gets them off, or they're saying, oh, we can watch it later and watch ourselves. Maybe they're doing it for that purpose. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, when it happens and a couple breaks up, that's when it comes into something negative. So yes, I too agree, you shouldn't allow it at all. Don't allow yourself to be taped. You know what I mean? But I think we were just saying, like, why would you even want to? That's the whole thing.
Like, we'll probably
you see, I think, maybe this is me, old mama bear here, who's been through enough things. Not that, thank God, because I'm never foolish enough to let somebody do that to me. But maybe it's just me who's always thinking, if you're asking me to tape something that you could have live and direct, you're up to no damn good from the day one. you are up to no damn good. You are planning to use that as leverage. And I ain't put it about, oh, they're just trying to get their freak on. What are they thinking? No, that man, I'm talking woman so much, but that man is planning to have that as blackmail on you. I mean, blackmail on you. Okay?
What if
So
it's
cut
the
that.
woman who decides, let's tape?
Then she deserves what she get if he does do that. Clearly, there are women who
Wait,
don't
hold on,
care.
Stop. See,
There are women who don't care.
you're-
What I'm saying is this: there are women who don't care, and if they agree to do it, and then he releases it, then she took a chance that she knows that you're doing it. But when you're letting some man talk you
Trish,
into
what
it,
if it's the woman who says, let's tape what we're doing? Do you feel they're doing it for the intent to blackmail the person?
most
later
men don't
on?
care if people see them having sex. So you're not gonna blackmail
That's
them?
not what I
That's not
asked
what
you. See, what I'm saying is, I don't think people do it with the intent. You're saying they're doing it because let me store something to keep. Everybody doesn't do things maliciously.
Oh, boy.
Unfortunately, it turns malicious
It may
after.
the
You know what I mean?
the incidents that we
Yeah.
know about in the media, like from celebrities,
turn dirty
they're
and-
turned
and
dirty.
malicious,
But I
but they
don't
don't
think
do it with that
maybe
intent.
it's something that.
Well, we have a celebrity, one of the biggest celebrities, who got famous from sex tapes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it may turn out that way, or it may be something you really need to ask the person. Why are we doing this? What is the?
Don't
then-
do it, period.
I agree,
can't tell
don't
what to
do it, but I'm
Don't
just-
do it.
we were-
And that man who's asking you to do it, and first of all, if you as a woman doing that, you're being foolish too. That still don't give that man the right. Even if a woman agrees to be she's the one who said, let me tape it. It doesn't give a man a right to use it as a blackmail. But too often than not, they are using it to blackmail those females, and you got to stop and think like that. You got to. I don't care if that was my husband. You ain't trying to tape me. I said, listen, you got the real thing right here. Why you got to tape me? And I wouldn't trust that because
Yeah.
listen,
I
and
think
this
we
is
all
coming.
agree with you.
We,
We're
right.
just
I
trying to
agree
figure
with
out
you, but I don't
why.
think
I don't
that
think
is
people
the same
always do it for
from
malicious.
the get-go, like from the beginning, that they're saying
Yeah.
malicious, that they're doing something malicious.
I think so. I think the average man is doing it for something malicious. I think when he's trying to try to tell you to put yourself on tape doing a private act, I think he is planning. You know what he can do? He can get some mirrors in that room and over the bed so he can watch when y'all are doing it. He don't have to tape it and have it there where somebody could find it.
He wants memories.
No, he don't want the memories. He want a blackmail material.
And what if, and again, you're putting everything one-sided, like the man,
Black
he's
and
so
white.
cruel, you're doing it, men are bad,
Well,
like that. But I keep saying, what if it's the woman who says, I want to tape this, let me tape
Let me-
you. Do you also feel that she's doing it so that she can
It could be,
blackmail him?
especially if he has another woman or he's first of all, men. You're right. You got a point there. For the men, if you got a girl and she's telling you to tape you, and especially if you're not exclusive with her, you better stop and think that she's probably going to use that to blackmail you.
Oh, well, I don't know.
When the other girlfriend said, when he said, no, I'm not, I just know her from work, I'm not messing with her. Oh, I have this. Listen, how many women tape the conversation they have with a man that's two-timing them, or a man who's having relationship with two women, and they would tape that conversation with that man, talking to them, and then play it back. I had one girl I know who, she was with this guy, and he was between her and another girl, and she taped the conversation, and she called the other girl, and she played the conversation, and they set him up. One of the girls, the one who I know, is talking to him on the phone, and he's like, no, I'm not with her, and he's going in about me, that's not the kind of girl I'll be attracted to. And the other girl is on the other phone talking, listening, and when she blasted, he was so scared, he just slammed the phone down, because he did not realize he was being caught. So yeah, you are absolutely right. I tend to a lot of times go hard on the man.
Yeah,
but-
that's what I was trying to
Yeah.
point, that it works both ways. You have malicious, evil people, whether they're men or women.
Men or women,
okay?
because
And we could be more
human.
devious than these men. That's
Yeah.
the truth of the matter.
So, really, the thing I think we all agree on is don't put yourself in a situation and allow anybody to tape you or to take nude pictures of you. It may sound great and oh, you might get off on it, or you think, wow, this is beautiful, but the problem is that you put yourself in a compromising position, because sometimes relationships don't last, and people who start out as lovers and friends become the worst enemies, and things can be used.
The
So
bottom
don't
line
do it.
is don't do it.
Don't do it.
Unless you can deal with the consequences.
yeah, it's always think if you're going to do it, that's blackmail
always
material, honey.
consequences.
Male or female, that's blackmail material. So do you want that? Because even if you're a male, say you get married, you settle down, would you want somebody who has been spiteful to put your stuff out there to be able to have that shopping around on the internet to humiliate you and your children. The man himself may not mind, but your children might be privy to that. So I think for me, that's what I always think about. It's not that I'm a perfect human being, but I never want to do stuff that is going to come where people could use it for my children, to humiliate my children. And you got to think about that. That is a powerful tool to put in someone's hand, male or female. But I think, I think I see what you guys are saying. It's not just the male.
Yeah.
Not based on that.
But I wouldn't trust anybody that's want to do it. Okay. What about you, Ms. Harris? I didn't hear your take on it that much. So would you want to?
Oh, she gave the bottom line.
When I
Say
give
it.
the bottom line, don't do it.
Don't do it. And that's
Don't
it.
do
Okay.
it. When
It's
in doubt, you know.
That's right.
Don't do it because there's a thing in here called the gut.
Yeah,
The gut
The
means
gut
You
instinct.
thing.
go to the
Yes.
gut.
If you cannot
Just
deal with the
don't do it.
consequences,
Just
Don't
don't
do it.
don't do it.
Don't do it.
If you're okay with seeing yourself naked, it's okay. It's your body.
Look in the mirror at yourself, okay? You and him get some mirrors if you really need
Yes.
to get off on that and
Or
have your
rent some
sex.
porn.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Rent some porn. Some
don't
girls
let
porn.
him tape you.
There's a lot of
Don't let 'em
Have them
tape
take
you.
pictures.
You know, the porn stars they're professional at that. They're getting paid to do that. You could make their fantasy be yours. You don't have to go make
You
somebody
remember
make the porn
Vanessa
star out of you.
Williams, how she got caught up
Absolutely.
Lost the crown
innocently,
because
Yeah.
of it.
right
She did?
innocently, and she lost her crown. But, you know, so you got to be careful.
Okay, so Mrs. Harrison, you could take the next spicy dish item.
Oh, the spicy dish. How do you avoid raising a man-child?
Okay. So a man-child meaning you have a grown man who's acting like a child, and he gets married, and the wife becomes the mother because the mother has raised him wrong. So how do you avoid raising a man-child? You ever see these guys that saying that are married and the wife has to pick up the socks? She got to cook for them. She's all about wiping his behind. You know what I mean? And that to me is when you have a man-child. That's not a man. He's looking for somebody to continue the rearing of him that his mama started. So how do we avoid that in terms of our boys? Because I have a girl, and I think I'm the opposite of that, because I think for my daughter, I probably raised her more a little bit like a guy in the sense that she can cook, but believe it or not, I didn't really teach her to cook. She just started to like certain food and ask how to do it, and first she'll mess up and then she'll correct it, and then she started into Italian cooking, like to make her ziti and a lasagna and those things, and that's how she became a pretty good cook. But I didn't really like have her in the kitchen and cleaning up. When her growing up, we always had like a person that cleaned the house, and at one point we had a live-in person, and so if anything, I think she was a little bit too spoiled. With Jojo, he got to put out the garbage, but he got to make sure, he wash the dishes or put them in the dishwasher. He's got to make sure he make the bed and clean him and Mary do the bathroom, like they rotate. So he has more responsibilities than Raquel, who was a girl, had. But I always tell him, your cute little face is only going to get you but so far. So you're not going to go marry some woman in this day and age where she has because he says he wanted to be a doctor. That could change, but he says he wanted to be a doctor. Says, okay, you're a doctor and you marry a professional woman as well. You think she's coming home to pick up after you? And this is where some problems come in. I have a cousin of mine, and his wife is a professional. They're both professional. And his biggest problem is that she doesn't cook and she doesn't this. You didn't marry someone who's staying at home or who has a minimum job. You marry a woman who's a professional, who's tired, and you both could afford to pay somebody. What is this ego thing you got where you so much want to see a woman, cooking and cleaning, that you want to? I don't get it, So they have these issues because they used to have these issues because he wanted her home cooking, and she don't have the time to cook. So I say how you avoid raising a man-child is making sure your boys are as self-sufficient as the girls. They should be able to make their bed. They should be able to scrub that bathtub, cook something for themselves to eat, clean up after themselves, take out the garbage, wash the dishes or put it in the dishwasher. Learn to do things to yourself, because otherwise he's going to translate that to another female that he marries and expect her to clean up after him.
Well,
and women out there at this age are not doing that. They're too busy and too hard working to be cleaning up after a man.
I raised 2 boys. Thank God they're not considered man-child. I mean,
They can cook, they can clean.
they can take care of themselves, because I would say well, you don't want a woman to show you up or, you know, look at you in a different way because you can't do anything to help yourself. So you're supposed to help yourself. And thank God they are that type of boys. Who can help themselves, you know.
My son, who's 9, we were talking about this recently, and he said, "Mommy, I will be willing to do chores at the house, but you have to pay me." So I found that. What did you guys think about that? He's trying to do things, but he wants me to pay him.
Okay.
And this was my answer to him. I take care of you. I provide for you. That's your job. I'm not going to pay you a penny.
And you know
For
what?
anything.
I mean,
I would give an allowance,
Let me,
but
no,
I would make sure he
let
knows
me-
it's not for that.
Let me
No.
let me say something. And there's nothing wrong with doing that as an allowance. Some people do it where they will pay and others won't. He's 9 years old. From early on, he should be learning clean your room, pick up after yourself, make up your bed, help out with these dishes. I'm not paying you to
Yeah.
do those things
And he
because
has
you
been
live
doing
here,
that.
you sleep here, you use these items. I'm not going to pay you. Now, I might pay you for something else as an allowance, you know, to help you get a little money because you want money, but not for the necessary things of your living.
That's
And
what
at
I told
9,
him.
get in there, take your behind in there, clean that room, and make up your bed. And don't ask me
And
for
don't
money
ask me
for
for-
that.
yeah, that's
I'll
what-
give you money for
yeah.
something else, but not for that.
That's what I told him. I said, "I'm not paying you a penny. Do not wait for me to pay you. This is what you need to do. I have responsibilities. You have responsibilities as well. I go to work. You go to school. I take care of the house, but there's certain things that are easy for you to do and that you are capable of doing."
I hear you. I hear you. Wow. Okay, so we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go into the Help Team section of the program, and we'll be right back. I'm Trish,
I'm a mountain.
I'm Irma. And I'm Caroline.
and we are the Caribbean House Talk. Welcome back to Caribbean House Talk and to our Dear Help Teams section of the program. And we're going to be discussing something today which is a very emotional thing for me, but I'm sure for a lot of women around the country. Should you ever forgive domestic violence, whether it's verbal or physical domestic violence? Should you ever forgive it? If you're in a situation where you're being verbally or physically abused, should you ever forgive that and move on, or should you cut and say, this is it? So you're with a man and he's verbally abusing you, or he puts his hands on you. What do you do? Do you try to walk it out, give it a chance?
You know what? I've never been in that situation. However, I always said that if a man ever put his hands on me, that would be the last time. However, I'm going to flip on that too. This is what I say, and I'm sure a lot of people say it, but you have women who will say it, but then when it happens to them, they go back to these men. And sometimes, I don't know, maybe sometimes it's not as bad, or you forgive once, but then it happens again, and you don't forgive. I think it's kind of a tough call. You know, I keep saying I'm a no-nonsense person. I'm not going to allow that. I would never let it happen. But there are some people, when it happens to them, and they go back, it depends on how bad it is, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think
I don't
once
know.
he does it once, he's
Yeah.
going to do it again.
I mean,
He'll
I
do it
say
again.
that too, but why? People go back.
I did a thesis on domestic violence. My master's thesis was on domestic violence. And one of the things that I can tell you, abusive man, be it a verbally abusive man or physically abusive man,
How abusive is it? Somebody who just like lets you, or you're in an argument
push you,
like that?
or who will
Stop
push you, threaten you, maybe talk you, maybe
Oh, this is
bad-
something really bad. Okay.
Or it could be somebody that just cross you, call you out of your name,
All the
intimidate
time,
you.
right.
Right. Everybody
Okay,
have
yeah.
arguments. Everybody have arguments, and sometimes an argument might end up a little bit on the abusing kind of realm. But we're not talking about that. We're talking where it's really abusive.
Okay.
And so I can tell you that most men who would engage in that behavior, they all practically follow a script. And if it happens once, it will happen again. Short of him going to get help, it is not going to happen by you threatening to leave him telling you how sorry he is, because I'm telling you, it's like a script that they follow.
It's a learned
You
behavior.
allow
Yes.
it once, it goes on
There
again.
is the tension
Keep
building
allowing
phase.
that, and
So
it's
you
not
have
gonna
this,
stop.
you have the tension building phase, and then you have an eruption. So in other words, there's an argument, it's a misunderstanding, and then there's eruption where he may actually put his hand on you or get up in your face. And now there's some women out there very abusive too. And then there's eruption. And then there's a loving contrition phase, and that's what get the woman back. You were asking why do some women stay? Because when he's sorry, he is really sorry. Oh, he's so sorry. I could just kill myself for what I did to you. I can't believe I did that, baby. I'm so sorry. And it's so heartfelt, you know. He's so genuine. And each time that woman think that this man is going to change. There's sometimes as well where it's an intimidating type of relationship. So that woman may be afraid. It may be also that he has cut her off, because I always tell people, when you're in a relationship and you see that man is trying to make waves between you and your family members or your friends, he's trying to isolate and cut you off. So that's people that you're not going to have to support you. So let's say he's gotten you to that phase, and now he's abusing you physically or verbally. Most of these women, that man will cut them down, tell them how stupid and ugly they are, so they think that they have nobody's
way
Mm-hmm.
going to
out,
want
no
you.
way.
And
Kill their
who's going to want you?
self-esteem by then.
Your self-esteem is down the tubes. And once you let a person do that to your self-esteem, they got you hooked. They don't have to threaten you. Just that low self-esteem is going to keep you there. And so I don't think you should ever forget that. I think I was raised with a father that has never put his hand on my mother, never ever. And I grew up in a little island where abuse was very common. I would be passing along, going to school, and see these men beating their wives with cutlasses, you know, busting their head open. I mean, horrible behavior. So this is not that my father was in an environment and a country where this was acceptable. And when you go to the police, he would say, "I'm not getting in husband and wife thing." So the woman had essentially no protection even from the law. And my father chose, as a man, not to do that. That was not a behavior. Now, if you mess with him as another man, that's another story. But he has never put his hand on my mother. So when I got married, that's my thing. I'm never going to accept that. The first marriage was very abusive physically. The second one was not physically, but there was a physical thing at the end. But it was not. I would not say that was punctuated with physical abuse, but emotional and financial abuse was the name of that day. Financial abuse. That is basically what's happening with that situation. I don't think you should ever forgive that. I think the first time that he puts his hands on you, you should be out the door. I don't care if you're married to him, you have 3 kids. It may not happen tomorrow. But what I would say to women, if you're in an abusive situation, make sure you have a job. Because you're going to need to take care of you and those children. Make sure that you stay close with friends and relatives. Make sure that you have certain things at your disposal, like your social security number, your kid's social security number, birth certificate, things that you will need if you have to run and go to a shelter. Make sure that you have some kind of a support base around you. And just make sure that you understand that when he's telling you how ugly and stupid you are, he knows you're not ugly and stupid. He's scared as hell of losing you. And he just wants to control and use you by making you feel worthless and making you feel like you have to stay there. You're better than that. He puts his hands on you, get out. If you're in an abusive situation, you either go to get counseling or you cut. Okay, I can quicker see, and don't think I'm condoning verbal abusive situation, but I can quicker see that one you're trying to see if this person, you can get them to look at what they're doing. Go for some counseling. I think with the physical abuse, I think for me, I'm cutting and I'm gone. I am not trying to deal with that. Okay? So basically that's my take on that. I don't think there's ever any way you should forget that. I don't think so.
Verbal abuse
You can walk. You can
maybe.
try to.
Because
don't
as
don't
women
just stay
too,
there.
we can be abusive.
Verbally abusive
We
too.
say things in the heat of whatever,
Yeah.
and then we are sorry. But
So you
but
can go get
physical
counseling for
abuse,
that, to
yes.
learn how to fight more fairly and not to use abusive language. So now I can see that there could be some kind of working out there. When you're talking about putting your hands on somebody, male or female, that's not acceptable. You need to get out. You don't
Absolutely
need to
not.
wait for that. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to go to our tricks and tips section of our program, and we will be right back. I'm Trish.
I'm announcing. I'm Irma.
And I'm Caroline.
And we are the Caribbean House Talk. All right, so welcome back to Caribbean House Talk, and we're now at a tricks and tips section of our program, and we're going to look at some household items that are good for things that you may not know that they're good for. So, and I know a dear researcher here, Miss Hyacinth Harrison, has done some research for us. We're going to talk about cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon. So, tell us what you found.
I have clove and cinnamon, but nothing on nutmeg.
I'll tell you about nutmeg in a minute.
Well, cinnamon has been a major component of alternative medicine for thousands of years. It has a number of oils which provides the body with many benefits. It controls your blood sugar and helps the cell in the body to better use glucose. It has anti-inflammatory properties which protects the cardiovascular system from infection and damage. It reduces your cholesterol levels, keeping blood vessels clean and healthy. It helps with proper blood circulation. Contains coumarin, which is a blood thinning compound, and it aids in a respiratory, I never can pronounce it, infection and a sore throat. It helps to minimize cancer cells in your body, helps to relieve arthritic pains, but you have to make sure you're using all natural cinnamon and not cinnamon powder, which is,
Because I have the powder here.
yeah, the powder doesn't
Don't show
much,
the
but this is what
Just show
you,
the bottom back
you
of it.
use, yeah.
Okay.
So
this
that's
is the
that's a
one
natural.
to use.
That's a natural.
Don't show the top of it. Okay. But we have the powder.
Yeah, the
cinnamon
powder
powder.
is just for, everyday use.
Right.
But
if you're really talking about what you're talking about, like I usually take a stick of cinnamon
You
and
take a
just put it
stick.
in my tea, my moringa tea. You always hear me talk about moringa.
Yes.
I put a cinnamon stick
well,
in it.
I tell you, it's very good with clothes because it relieves anxiety.
Oh.
Wait, so you
You can boil
put,
them two together.
Oh. Do
Oh.
you put it? Do you have to put a tea bag, or you could just use the cinnamon and the clove with the water, and that's
With the water.
I have used the cinnamon from St. Vincent because they have a special.
And it has a different taste. If
Yes.
you taste the cinnamon,
Yeah, the cinnamon
it has a different taste.
stick, and I boil a little bit of the clove in it, and that's my tea.
That's what it was
But
going
it's
to get
not
to
something
next.
you drink every day. Especially cloves. Let me tell you a little bit about cloves.
Yes, yeah, that's our next item.
They say it's nature's top source of antioxidant and the highest of any food. It's an herb. People that use the oils, dried flower, buds, leaves, and stems to make medicine. It's used for upset stomach and as an expectorant. The oil is used for diarrhea, hernia, and bad breath. It's used for intestinal gas, nausea, and vomiting, which is true. But this part, it can be applied directly to gums for toothache,
Yes.
pain control during dental work. But listen to this part. It can be applied to the skin as part of a multi-ingredient product used to keep men from reaching orgasm too
Oh,
early.
I don't think they like this.
Premature ejaculation.
Premature. Okay.
In manufacturing clove in manufacturing, clove is used in toothpaste, soaps, cosmetics, and cigarettes. It has a product called eugenol, and it acts as the menthol in the clove. So clove is very, very potent, and it's not something you can just you should use every day. I use it in my food. I cook with clove, like a little bit.
Even in my drinks, if I'm making sorrel,
Yes.
I'll put some cloves in there.
It's very good
ginger
in
beer,
your
put some-
sorrel, and but it has been around for donkey's years, and it's very good.
Okay.
So that's
The next one I have here is nutmegs, and
Yes.
this is a nut. This is a let me get to one out here so you can see what it looks like. I got a whole one. I got a whole nutmegs. Okay. I grew up in a little farm area in St. Vincent where my father was an agriculture officer, and we had fields of these things to our disposal. And so I buy people buy the powder. I like to buy it and just grate it. You see, like this one is
Yes.
one that I grated.
Yeah, you
I
grated.
grated this one or something earlier, and so you can see. Ugh, I forget it. You never get these things out when you want. But basically, this one I grated it. You see, I grated this one. But here's a powerful thing people don't know. If you're someplace now, remember everything we're saying here. We're not saying it that you should take these as your advice for medical help.
Right.
You have diabetes. You need to be getting your diabetic medication and walking with your doctor. Not saying, "Oh, I'm going to use cinnamon or I'm going to use such and such." But what we're saying is, let's say you may have a family history of it. You're going to get your checkups. Everything is good, but you might say, "You know what? I want to use this as part of my regimen to kind of ward off, or make it a little bit less likely to get this particular bugs." Things. So, they're good for you to kind of maintain your health. But if you already have certain medical conditions, you by all means go to your doctor and get your medical advice from your doctor and walk with your doctor.
You may use it as a prevention.
It's like a preventative type of thing. Now, what is nutmeg good for? If you're someplace and someone you think they're having a stroke, get this into their mouth, in their jaw.
I know of that.
No, get the medical help. Don't say I'm going to put a nutmeg there and they don't need to call a doctor. No, while you're waiting for or getting them to the hospital, put a nutmeg into their cheeks. And I don't know what it is in the nutmeg. It prevents a stroke from getting worse. It is said. So again, you think if somebody's having a stroke, you're not sure, or you know really they're having a stroke. Get medical help, and while you're getting them to the hospital or what have you, you put a nutmeg. It is believed that is going to prevent the stroke from getting worse until you can get the medical help. So nutmeg has some very potent properties as well.
And I see people, they just put it in Jamaica. They put it in a little piece back here when they're traveling around. I think they expect to have a stomach ache, and it aids in that stomach ache. So a lot of people just keep on it, and they suck on the nutmeg. That's what I see. So I started doing it when I came to
So
this
you think
country.
it calms
I
them?
like when I have to take the train in the mornings, and I didn't have my breakfast before, to go to work. I would put a little piece of nutmeg in the back of my tongue and just kept my stomach, But believe heal and believe cure.
Wow. Interesting. See, these are some of the things that we could have. Let me let that plane pass so we can hear me a little better. These are some of the things we have in our arsenal, right in our cabinets or cupboards that we could use. We're gonna go let Chef Chester set us up with some food, so he's gonna start getting our food set up so we can start eating and tell you what we're tasting. And in the meantime, what we're gonna do, ladies, we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about season 2 and basically what the Caribbean House Talk show, what that has been for us and the journey we have taken, etc. Our dear Alma Weiss was not here with us today. She had a family emergency, and so she had to go take care of that. It was something she could not get out of, and so we surely miss her. It's not the same without her, but we're trying to hang in there and keep it going. And Alma, we wish you and the family the best of everything, and we look forward to having you back with us next season. We're sorry we missed you not being here today, but we understand. All right, so that's why she's not here. I know that we did the show, and people are saying, "Well, where's Alma?" She really usually have a lot of information, a lot of things to say, and so it's hard not to miss her. So that's why she's not here today. But we'll see her in season 3, and we're gonna come right back. and we are the Caribbean House Talk. Welcome back to Caribbean House Talk. As we're getting ready to end, this is the final episode, part 2 of the final episode of Caribbean House Talk for season 2. And we do want to go around the table and ask each of these ladies about the Caribbean House Talk franchise, about our show and what we've been doing, and memorable moments, etc. So I'm going to start off first, and then I'm going to let you guys join me. So we started off in 2016 with Caribbean House Talk, season 1, and we came together with a group of 4 ladies. It was myself, Caroline Mitchell-Davis, Marvie Estevez, and our dear Alma Weiss. And along the way, Ms. Tyson Harrison joined us, first as a guest host, and eventually we just love her so much, and she just brings so much to the show. She just became a regular. So, and then we often have a guest host on and so forth. And what we're trying to do with this show, as well as with this QX Television Network in general, is to have a setup where we are a variety show, where we have now music, we have movies, we have cooking, we have fashion, we have interviews, we have talk shows, and we have politics. And we really try to bring a lot of stuff to the table. So on this show, the format of the show doesn't allow us to do certain things in depth, but we'll introduce it like we did earlier with bankruptcy, and I got an earful and an eyeful in terms of my speeches. I didn't realize the difference between them. I've heard them going around, but you really were able to clear it up, Mrs. Harrison. She's done a lot of great research for us. She takes this very seriously, and she do her research, and we come back. But apart from that, what I think we try to do with this show is to try to bring things that we think our viewers could benefit from. So we try to bring things like we discussed one time about leasing versus buying a car. We've done things like I've done things like medical issues. We started now to introduce these tricks and tips section where we talk about household stuff and homeopathic type of remedies, which we think people can benefit from. And again, we don't bring a position of, oh well, we are medical doctors, but we're not. And we know what's best for you. No, we're saying as a preventative thing, some of these things could be beneficial. We just try to really bring like some insight, What about you folks?
I mean, I agree. I think season 2 is actually even more informational than season 1 because we've introduced more items, to our viewers and to ourselves. I mean, I get just as much out of it as that I hope the viewers do.
Right.
Because every time we meet, I learn something new, from somebody. Even if it's just their perspective or just their knowledge on certain things, on how they look at things and how we may view it differently. But wow, I've learned something. So I've had a great time.
And I think one of the things that we do as well, we have a lot of local business people come on. We have people who are have some kind of skill, and we give them a chance to display their products. Alma White's the designer, so we have her fashions on. We had Karen Harry, and she's the person who does memory quilts. If you lose a loved one, you take their stuff and you make a memory quilt from it. And so we were able to do that with this network and with this show. We have chef over in the corner over there. We have Chef Chester. I can't get it right. Chef CC. I'm gonna just stick with that. Chef CC, who's preparing our meals. He brought us jerk barbecue short ribs with sweet mashed potato and asparagus. So we're gonna have a meal out of him, and we get to have people see what he is capable of, and to have people know about his business. And he's going to be having his own show on Lickma Pot. He's going to be doing that for when we go to hiatus. We're going to be taping that show for him. So we try to be a network that's really out there informing the public and really giving people things that we feel could be of help to them. What about you, Amalfi? What do you think?
I feel very lucky because I'm the youngest of all of us, and I feel that I have learned so much from you guys. And learn about life, and sitting with you ladies that has given me that perspective and understand it more. So I hope that any like people my age that are watching the show, that are listening to you guys, I hope that they're getting the same benefit that I'm getting.
And the beautiful thing too, I like that we have women on here who are married and happily married. And we have us who were married, once happily married, but we're divorced, and we see that whether you're divorced or we have differences, but we have a lot more in common than we do. And I think we don't always agree, obviously, but we always end up agreeing to disagree. So I have a perspective. You're not necessarily going to agree with me, but we're not here pulling each other's hair out of it. I just give my opinion, you give your opinion, and we move on. And there's some opinions that will appeal to some people, and some will appeal to another person, and not the others. So I think that's one thing I get out of the show, that we do have differences of opinion, which is good because the audience is going to have differences of opinion. But we're able to roll on and give, just give some good some different perspective on things.
Well, as Trish said, I came in as a,
Yes.
I guess.
Yes, host.
And I'm still a guest.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
Not at this point.
But I mean,
No.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed just talking as women, giving different perspectives. And I mean, I'm going to sit here and talk a lot because the food is smelling so good.
I know.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's been fun for me. It's different. I probably am the oldest one here, but I'm having more
And the
fun
wisest.
than all of you.
And the wisest. And I like your candidness. You're very candid.
Thank you.
You're very candid.
But I've had much fun doing it. I like doing the research, because that's part of me. So as long as we keep on laughing and having fun, enjoying.
I always said when I started doing this show, I never wanted, initially it was supposed to be, initially we were supposed to be the Caribbean House Talk, and I didn't like the House Talk type thing, and I think there was another group that had that name, but then I didn't want to have a House Talk type show. And we're not in people's bedrooms and their bathrooms, and we're not pulling each other's hair out. I felt we could have a show that kind of uplift women in a very realistic way, not a way that is like kind of, wishy-washy type of thing. So,
And I'm glad we're not into politics.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we touched on it, but
We
it's not
touched
a
a little bit,
political
not,
show.
It's
We're
not.
political.
I think there's plenty of people doing that already.
I could look at MSNBC or one. I don't want to watch it. But, sometimes something happened and you can't help but comment, but we're not a political show. All right, so I like, are there any episodes that stood out to you guys, ladies? Any particular topic or episodes that stood out to you?
Oh, they were all great.
Well, you know me, I kind of like the stuff about the sex stuff.
Okay.
This is one of the things when people talk a lot about that is when they're not getting it. I don't know, maybe there's some truth.
Maybe there's some-
I don't know, because I find myself talking about it a lot. But, I think that our conversations were frank, but they were not vulgar. I mean, we're not here calling body parts out of their name, and we're not using profanity. We're pretty clean, sure, believe it or not, but we do have some topics that at times is not really suitable for young audience, and we usually put some kind of disclaimer on the screen, or we would say it. But I think that's the kind of things that I kind of enjoy the most. I also do enjoy the kind of informational stuff that we do when we're trying to get people to some information that we think would be helpful to them. And QX television in general, you can go to cuextv.bingewave.com. That's usually where you can get, that's a link to our network, and you can see things like on Caribbean House, on Caribbean News Blast. We have things like on solar energy. We have things on, refinancing and mortgages, things like that. We have fashion show. So just go onto our site and see whatever is up there that you like. We are wrapping up this season and Caribbean House Talk, season 2. We hope to be back with even more informative, interesting topics on season 3. And I'm sure we're going to have a lot of interesting guest hosts. I'm sure we're going to be enjoying Mrs. Harrison, her research. She's really good at this, and I really like the effort and the information that you get from that research. And we intend to have a very vibrant season 3. So now we're going to go over to Chef Chester in a little and have our food and really tell you what it tastes like.